John said he listened to the last time you were a guest, and he was like, "It's a different show. Not better, not worse. It's a different show." And I realize when John is here, it's like Cheers because there's a Sam Malone and there's like a Frasier. It's different people. John lives upstate. I live in Brooklyn. John's gay. I'm not. John doesn't draw cartoons. And so when you're on the show, it's like the Frasier show because Niles is basically another Frasier.
Oh, so I was wondering that all
you do what I do. You live in the same town.
I like that he's Sam. That's
he's Sam. I didn't say that.
Yeah, well, because I was wondering, like, you're like it's Cheers or Frasier. I mean, gosh, what would I have gone with the comparison? Maude? No, I don't know.
You don't know anything about Maude.
I know nothing about Maude at all.
It's the Seddy Bimcoas Show, the only podcast with the proportionate strength and speed of a spider.
Seddy Bimcoas Show, and John is on a secret mission and guest star, sometimes semi-regular host, friend of the show, New York Times bestseller George O'Connor's filling in.
Thank you. Wow, I was like, if you didn't get the New York Times bestselling in here, I'm just gonna leave.
Well, Seddy Bimcoas is a show about teenage angst, both in real life and in the movies.
Yeah. And we loosely, or you, I mean, you're really the primary driving force out of the two of us right here. This is your and John's show. I'm just here when John's off on like extended olive oil runs. So like, I'm interested really in exploring this Cheers and Frasier metaphor more.
Really?
So if you decide that you and
I just made that up.
I know, and I think it bears, so that means your wife Jean is Roz.
Wait.
Right? No.
Roz. Who are you saying I am? I'm Frasier?
Well, you're Frasier, yeah, because Frasier is the constant
he
between
was single,
Cheers,
but he was married to Lilith.
Lilith, yeah, Bebe Neuwirth. Hey, true factoid for anybody listening who's a fan of my Olympians comics, one of my influences for the design of Hera, Bebe Neuwirth.
I can see that as soon as you said that.
Yeah.
I can see that. And you know, the creator of Cheers, he has a book out. I don't know if you know this. The co-creator, James Burrows. You know
Burrows,
that name?
yes.
It's all about the background of Cheers. And speaking of little known facts, did you know that originally in Cheers, Sam Malone was going to have 3 arms? But the special effects didn't look good. And they're like, no, that's why he was a great baseball player. And he's like a great bartender.
Because that would make you like better at baseball, having like a third. Where did this third arm come from?
I knew you were going to ask. Straight out of the middle of his chest. That's
oh wow! So he it was like a quado sort of thing, but instead of like a whole. Was it a full-sized arm or was it like a little baby arm?
No, full-sized arm. So it helped him play baseball. But they didn't.
And the way
they
would have done this special effect, they would have actually hollowed out Ted Danson's chest. And who do you think would have reached his hand through the middle?
Oh, a puppeteer you're talking?
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, would they have gone for like a full-on Muppeteer? Would they have gotten like Jim Henson or Frank Oz, or would they just
Frank Oz? I think
that's what Frank Oz wants to be doing. And then, okay, so who's the Carla? Oh wait, are we? No, we're Frasier.
You're going back to the metaphor you want to explore.
I just think it's fascinating to me.
Well, it's just that we're in the same town, we're in the same business, and when Cheers started as a show, I thought, why'd they do that? Why is Niles like him? Why isn't his brother a football player so they can have conflict?
Well, that was his dad.
I know. It worked out. People liked it.
It worked out. I mean, that show ran for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Or something crazy.
Shows what I know about what makes a good show. Oh, so our weeks. You sound like you have something that happened.
I kind of, okay, so here's what happened, right? This, in case you listeners, you're wondering how I came to be as part of this. Because you're like, wait, this guy came on once as a guest. Told a really weird story about underwear in the woods. People were upset. People loved it. It ran the gamut. Then I became a bit of a running joke on the show.
No joke.
Being name dropped for sometimes
every
the most
episode.
Serious for reasons. There's one time you called me a master of language. I'm like, I don't think that's true. For any reason. And then weirdly, you'd think like that's normally the behavior reserved for a guest you don't like. But then when John was on the first leg of his secret mission, I came in and I talked about Generation X
with Mikey P.
And I don't think anything's ever been the same since. Like,
no,
that movie hurt me. And I think it hurt the show. I think it hurt a lot of stuff. And it probably hurt John because John had to go underground again. So this week, Tim,
Yes,
I was actually in Ohio.
Oh,
And my day job is, I'm a New York Times bestselling cartoonist, and I do author. I do books about Greek mythology. So that means I get invited to speak about Greek myths a lot.
mhm.
And I was invited to give the keynote speech to the Ohio Classical League Centennial.
Oh, cool.
I have never been so out of my depth. I'm just like, what am I
Classical
doing here?
League? Why? That sounds just like what you do.
Except for every one of these people like speak Latin and Greek.
They know more than
these
you.
are scholars. These are people like during the course of this weekend, like they were people like giving papers on like how they researched if people escape Pompeii, about the nature of Juno's wrath in the Aeneid. It was like some hardcore stuff. And I'm like, I draw comic books about the Greek god. And I had like a full-blown case of imposter syndrome. I was just like, because I do these things quite often. It's not normally a thing, but this one really bugged me out, especially because the night before we had all gone out to some very nice restaurant, and there was like a banquet, and everybody had copies of my books on their dishes, and I'm eating like filet mignon, but they're telling me stories of speeches past, and it's like,
oh no,
like it's like
before you make yours.
Yeah, before I made one, it became a joke. Like I think they could see the cold sweats breaking out of my face. Like one guy did the entire speech in Latin one time. I'm like,
oh my god,
it was
Oh,
so it was in the throes of this panic, right? Panic, by the way, derived from the Greek god Pan, named for his his blood curdling cry, which sent people into a panic.
I do want to interrupt just a minute because there's so much you're saying.
Yeah.
Number one, they've got your book near food. That's a big no-no.
Yeah, it does seem like it's going to end badly, right?
And secondly, didn't you try to impress them by saying, by the way, I'm friends with Tim Hamilton, New Yorker cartoonist?
I did. I brought it up several times.
Okay, well, it didn't work.
And they would look and know what they did, Tim?
What?
They immediately would pull out their cell phones and they would look up Tim Hamilton.
And
what did they see?
The adult porn star.
Exactly. And then,
it has my same name.
This room, I would say the median age was 78 years old. Okay. So all these old classicists, it's a centennial. Some of them have probably been there since the beginning, looking at this and going, "Ooh, Tim Hamilton." So basically, we have this party. I drink wine, which is something I never do. And, I have a few glasses of wine. I'm like, ugh. And I go back to my hotel room before this speech, which I'm giving at 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. And I'm like, I have to rewrite this whole fucking thing.
You do.
And I'm sitting there at my computer with this vague wine buzz segueing into a headache and just being like, what am I going to say? All these people know so much. And that's when there's a knock at my door. And I open the door, fucking John Kelly there. He's well lubed. He's clearly in some sort of state that I would say an altered consciousness. Because normally his pupils are the same size, right?
Yeah, as far as I know.
It's kind of like I'm not John Lennon, a David Bowie thing where one was really big and he's like, the word diaper is going to eat your space banana. I'm like, John, what have I told you about drinking all of that olive oil? Now, people, John Kelly is obsessed with me in olive oil. I think it's a racist Italian thing because I'm Italian.
I thought it was about it was about Turkish wrestling. Sorry.
Well, it's something weird, but a lubed up and out of his mind John Kelly showed up. And to his credit, he did not put me in any Turkish wrestling moves.
Okay.
He did not spread his mental whatever was going on. He very politely came in, sat on my couch, left a big stain, but whatever, it was just not to tell, and asked me if I wouldn't sub for him this week on Seddy Bimcoas. So you know what I did?
What?
I fucking blew off that speech, and I just came here to record with you.
Ah, all right.
That's not true. I gave the speech. It actually went well, but I pretended to have a panic attack on stage. That's literally what I did.
You did?
I made a joke of it, yeah. I did this really overwrought intro where I'm like, and I was thinking of you guys both because I actually introduced myself. I was like, the Ohio Centennial League presents New York Times bestselling cartoonist George O'Connor, author of the New York Times bestselling series Olympians. I'm like, wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? I laid down on the stage and pretended to freak out. Everyone got on my side.
Okay. You didn't fit friend of Seddy Bimcoas in there?
I did say, I said Fred, and I said, everyone look up Tim Hamilton, and the entire audience of children and 7-year-olds once again saw terrible things that probably awakened something.
You said these people were old.
Well, okay.
There was all right.
It was like 2 conferences happening at once, literally next door to each other, and I was the keynote for both. So there was like a junior classics league, so it was all kids, like high school kids. Mm-hmm. And then next door was this one with all these adults with dropping these crazy, amazing papers that would. I actually said a lot of stuff and was like, "This is really cool," but you'd have to be like a real Greek geek or Latin nerd to be like loving this stuff. But it was fun.
Okay, well that's good. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad John didn't ruin it, showing up with all his olive oil.
You made him get out. You called up Carrot Top, said, "I need some jokes for this speech."
Wait, Carrot Top's a prop comedian. Are you comparing my humor to Carrot Top's? I'm outraged. I'm leaving.
Is he a prop comedian? I've never seen him perform. I only know people don't like him.
I'm actually not sure he is now, but I think I've heard that because I've never, now that you mention it, I've never seen him perform either. All I've seen are the disconcerting photos where he looks like a melting Lion-O from Thundercats because now he's all buff and weird looking.
Yep. Now he's a melting Ronald McDonald.
Wait, what?
You don't think he looks like Ronald McDonald? He's red
I
hair.
thought you said he's assaulting Ronald McDonald. Like, please tell me that Carrot Top beat up Ronald McDonald. What a wonderful world we live in.
Now I got nothing to like. Well, what happened this week? The last 2 weeks, like again, it's like we're on Frasier. You were there. We went to Oktoberfest.
Yes, we went to Oktoberfest.
We sat way too close to the Oompa band, and our friend Squiss got COVID, but we didn't. So
he seems, I don't know if he's saying that for our benefit, that he didn't get it there.
Well, how does he know? We don't know. I think one of the tuba. Remember the Oompa player, the tuba guy, when he went up to,
who kept licking Chris?
He went up to Chris and teabagged him. I think that's when Chris got COVID.
I think that's when Squiss got. But here's the thing. I think because Squiss seems so certain, folks, we're talking. I don't know.
By the way, we went to Oktoberfest with our friends. One of them we call Squiss, and he's okay with it. Otherwise, and George and our significant others were there. So that's just a setup. We went to a little Oktoberfest thing. There was Oompa band.
We drank a lot of beer, ate a lot of German food. Squiss got COVID. But he seems so sure it wasn't from that I think Squiss was involved in some risky behavior after that. None of us got COVID. I'm just saying. I think Squiss went on a bender maybe for the rest of the weekend.
Maybe.
Was doing lines off people's bellies, like people who clearly had monkeypox or something. I think. Or, bear with me, our friend Squiss, he was the only member of his family to get this at first. So he sequestered himself in a hotel with his Nintendo. He's a good family man,
You think he faked it?
I think he faked it. And then I think his daughter, who also has it,
she seems
caught on that he was taking the Nintendo for some alone time. And she pretended to get it too. I think this is all conspiracy. Actually, I'm just going to come out and say, I don't think COVID's real. Oh man, people are turning off this podcast in droves. Like this is
all right.
They've really slipped ever since John Kelly had that olive oil freak out.
I picked something to watch today that is about teenagers because traditionally this character is a teenager to begin with, both in comics, movies. In this show, he wasn't a teenager. It didn't seem, but you want to say what we're watching?
Was a student.
Student. Was he still a student?
So, yeah, that was kind of like the whole reason he got this particular job in this one.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we're going to watch Spider-Man, an episode of the Spider-Man show from the 70s starring Nicholas Hammond. Live action. This episode's called Mystery of... Oh.
No, it's not. It's called... This episode was called The Kirkwood Haunting.
The Kirkwood Haunting. I was going to say
mystery.
The Haunting of Kirkwood. I was going to say that's all.
Haunting of the Mystery of the Kirkwood of the Haunting.
So, starring Nicholas Hammond.
Yep.
Did you see what he's famous for before this?
He was one of the Van Trapp children from that movie with the Van Trapps.
Frederick Van Trapp.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're a bunch of little blonde kids.
When I read that, I guess I knew that, but kind of blows my mind.
I'm going to say, I'm just spoilers for people listening. Everything about this episode blew my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Can I start with the first thing that blew my mind?
Well, let me get a few things out of the way, okay?
Okay.
Chip Fields plays a character that's not in the comics, but she is.
Not Glory Grant.
No, they changed
Thought it
her
was,
name.
but yeah, they changed her name for some reason.
But Chip Fields was on a spinoff of Maude called Good Times. She played Victoria Jackson's mother, abusive mother.
Right.
And
No, Janet Jackson's mother.
I mean Janet Jackson's mother. And
Victoria Jackson is that SNL lady who had a mega meltdown.
That's right.
She would never be in Good Times. They're the wrong view for her types.
I think she was on Good Times. But...
Yeah, you're right. So what's her name? I wrote it down too. No, I didn't.
Loretta Gordon on Good Times. I wrote that down.
No, the actor's name Chip what?
Chip Fields. And
Chip
on the
Fields.
show, she plays Rita Conway.
Yeah. That's got to be a famous Spider-Man scribe of this time, Jerry Conway nod, right?
I couldn't find any connection.
Hmm.
And before, and I know we're going to talk about the show, but how about the music? Did you listen to the theme music with that sad sax?
Yep. I fucking loved it. I was going in very prepared to complain bitterly about the fact that I wasn't going to have the Spider-Man song, which is like one of the best theme songs of all time, but anything.
Yes.
But I really dug the 70s Tastic score.
Really? Even as a kid, I thought it was odd. And I'm a little older than you, so I will say to the audience, when this came on, I was super hyper excited. I threw a pickle on another ceiling, the living room ceiling.
You were hurling pickled cucumbers. Yeah, Tim,
but
I should say you've seen it.
As a kid, even I was like, what's wrong with this? There's a few things wrong with this. But anyway.
I had never seen any of this, and I kept forgetting it was a thing. Like every once in a while, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, there was this '70s Spider-Man show about the same time as the Hulk," but it was canceled right away. First thing that shocked me, did you notice these? We watch this on YouTube, everybody.
Yes.
I think all of the episodes are up there.
They are, I think.
Right at the top.
I picked the worst one.
Season 2, episode 4. This thing had 2 seasons.
Yeah, but not a lot of episodes. They broke them up.
Not a lot, no. But I was stunned. I was like, what? What?
It's produced by Daniel R. Goodman, and I looked him up, and this is his only credit in existence on IBDM.
Well, that's telling.
So we'll as we explain this plot, we can say up front, this is a Scooby-Doo plot. It could have been
it's
Scooby-Doo cartoon.
Scooby-Doo. Tim, I took 3 pages of notes on this thing.
Oh my God.
Like this was all right. Should I give my spoiler right off the bat?
You can start wherever you want to start. We're trying to start at the beginning to keep this in order so people understand the Scooby-Doo plot.
Well, let's start with just the opening. So it opens up with what is clearly like Spidey's big day and the one day they got to film in New York City. It's like this. It's just like this montage of a guy in Spider-Man outfit, and it's New York City, I guess, in the 70s. Like you see like the World Trade Center. Yeah. You see the Chrysler Building. You might see the Empire State Building. I think you do, as a matter of fact. He swings on a web, and a web being a white rope.
Right.
It's the only time he does that in the entire episode. This costume is great. His eyes are very small and very far apart, so he kind of looks like this kind of weird child. His fingers are very big. No, I mean Spider-Man's costume is something to see. Like his eyes are small and far apart, and he's got very bulbous fingers. He has kind of like his web shooters are on the outside. He's got a big belt. He looks really weirdly 70s.
Is this before they invented
spandex?
Is this before spandex? Is that why his gloves were so bulbous and they didn't have the material? I bet
you're right.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, his costume is surprisingly bulky in spots.
And
I mean, instead of shooting webs, he literally shoots white rope, and there's a sound effect like "wow" as it happens.
I have a feeling the cameras wouldn't pick up smaller rope or something. I don't know. It did look like rope.
I mean, no, it's straight up rope. There's scenes later where he webs up people, and you can just see they're just throwing nylon rope on people. I'm like, come on. it's great. All right, Tim. I kind of loved this show.
Really? Well, you like the one. Other ones are better than this one,
Well,
or worse.
I finished watching this episode
Uh-oh.
and started watching the next one
that
and realized I had to stop because I was going to get moments confused, But I feel like there's an alternate universe where this show went on for like 6 or 7 seasons and was a big hit. Like, I kind of don't like, okay, the Spider-Man bits are cheap and hokey, but I was really all in for the Scooby-Doo plot.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know. I feel like last time I was the guest host, we had we watched the Generation X movie, and Mike being an apologist for that, and I was just like, Mikey P, you can't really like this. But now I've watched Spider-Man, arguably a worse product, and was like, I kind of dig this.
Okay.
All right, so who's gonna do the plot?
Holding my tongue. Well, the plot is that Spidey, Peter is usually a teenager. I guess he is a student in the show, and he shows up at J. Jonah's office because he's excited to do something, which I forget now. I didn't write it down. Yeah. He was excited, but J. Jonah Jameson has a pal named Harvey Kirkwood. Do I have that right?
Yes.
And Peter's like, yeah, that guy makes weapons, right? Kills people, right? And J. Jonah's like, that's not the point. He died, and he's my pal. And his wife is being haunted by his ghost, telling her she's got to give her money away. Basically, that's the plot.
And
right?
J. Jonah Jameson clearly says his wife's name is Lisa, and everyone else says it's Lisa. Okay. So I'm just like, come on, guys. You have one job. Can we talk about J. Jonah Jameson and the Bugle, though?
The end of what? At the end? Oh, in the Bugle.
Well, no, just the Bugle. Like the fact that I kind of didn't think it would have that.
Oh, that's easy. That's just an office.
It is.
It didn't look interesting.
No. I was very excited to see what I thought was Spider-Man supporting character Glory Grant.
Yeah.
Who looks just like Glory Grant from the comics, who is J. Jonah's secretary, just like in the comics, but she was a different character, but she's Glory. Rita Conway.
Yes.
And in the beginning, there's another character who is just like is Lois Lane. We'll talk about her later.
Yeah.
But like that seems to be the entire staff. But J. Jonah, kind of a nice guy.
Yeah, I read that they toned him down in second season. And
oh, really? Is that what happened? Was he? Oh,
Stanley was not happy.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a whole theory about that because Stanley got a script consultant on this. I noticed, which I'm like, did he really consult, or did he just, Stanley collecting paychecks?
I think he collected paychecks. They're like,
yeah, because there was one line where
like,
J. Jonah's talking about Harvey Kirkwood and goes, he is a hot-tempered guy. You know what I like that, Parker? Mm-hmm. And Peter makes this weird face and kind of silently looks at J. Jonah, and he looks back. And I laughed out loud.
Me too, because that's the only honest bit of acting in the whole program.
Yeah. It was really cool, though. I was like, yes. That's when I like rubbed my palms together. I'm like, I'm going to dig this show.
I think Stan collected checks. They're like, how's his spider sense work? And Stan's like, well, his eyes light up and he senses danger. You're like, thanks.
Okay, so can he use that to see people who are like 50 feet away getting into trouble?
That's
sure, why not, true believer?
It wasn't him in danger. But we'll get to all that.
We're jumping ahead. We'll talk about his quote-unquote spider sense later.
So I guess he goes upstate to the Kirkwood estate.
Yep, which I want to point out, in this show, Peter Parker has a car.
Oh, that's right.
Because the line is even, and I got pretty excited. They're like, Jameson says, I wrote it down, you have a special assignment up in Westchester, and it concerns my friends. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Westchester, Marvel Universe? Is this going to be a Generation X crossover? Well, I didn't think that, but no. I thought maybe the X-Men. Definitely not the X-Men.
I thought weapons maker, it's going to be Tony Stark.
I thought that too. Yeah. So many this entire show is lousy
Frasier.
With chances to put
Frasier.
In. It's.
I thought you meant our show, like I'm Niles.
No. Spider-Man had so many chances to put in nods to the bigger Marvel Universe and doesn't.
Nope. And he goes to the man. I thought I wrote his name down.
It's Harvey Kirkwood.
No, the man who guards the gate. I didn't write his because
he's his name.
He's the worst guard, right? When Peter shows up,
yeah,
and Peter's just like, I got to get in and help her. She's been haunted by a ghost. Isn't that pretty much what he's saying?
Yeah,
I really
and
need to see
he's
her.
like, The lady doesn't like newspaper men. That's what he says. That's a term used throughout this, newspaper men.
Yes, but he gets...
Actually, Tim, question.
What?
Is Peter just a photographer, or is he, as he seems to be, a reporter?
I wrote that down. Like, he's a reporter. Because,
okay.
yeah,
all right.
they don't
so
send
he is.
reporters.
Right. I wondered about that. All right.
Because Clark and Lois are always sent together. Like, wait, they're both reporters, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Never mind. Traditionally in the comics, guys, Peter's a photographer, a nerdy kid. He likes photography. He's a teenager.
Yeah.
The
He
theme
sells
of the show.
photos of himself in action to J. Jonah Jameson. It's
Or
kind
naked.
of
Or naked.
or naked. So yeah, he has an OnlyFans account.
He does. Oh, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
That comes in later. Yes.
So how I bet you I can guess what else you were thinking when we met this villain who seems to be conjuring illusions.
Oh yeah, yeah. Why on earth isn't this guy Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio?
Yeah, I don't understand.
I wrote down in my notes, who is this blonde beardo?
Beardo.
This dude. All right, you know how in Scooby-Doo you can normally kind of figure out which guy is going to be unmasked at the end because they introduce like one new character an episode, and you know it's not going to be Shaggy at the end.
No.
Like this guy is so overtly nefarious, and there's a scene going on for quite a while before they introduce anyone. They're doing a seance.
Right.
And there's the widow of Harvey Kirkwood, the Lisa Kirkwood, who I have to say, kind of pretty. I liked her.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, I'm into that actor. And then there was this beardo guy who looks like a supervillain, and some random dude who was doing the voice.
Right. Well, you're getting ahead of yourself with what I want to talk about.
Okay.
That they go there, so they see the seance, they hear a voice, there's a crummy light effect, seemingly in a different room. I never saw them together with that light effect.
Yeah.
Like, it's a ghost. I'm like, well, it's the light effect.
It was always it's like this weird green shape between this chair that was made of like cow horns. It was very weird.
It was an effect that he bought from Doctor Who for $5. Basically.
Yeah, it was on that level. This did look better than the Doctor Who episode of the time, though.
But this is where Peter goes to visit Dr. Davis, who is at I think I wrote this down, the Psychic Research Institute.
Wait. No, you're skipping an important part.
Okay. Oh, maybe I missed
the plot. The ghost, which is a dude's voice and a light, says, I made so many guns.
Right.
And that's, you got to do something. You have to give all my money to this Psychic Research Institute, which of course the beardo guy heads up, to make it better. Now, for those of you who are stepped in ghost and folklore and stuff, they're definitely doing a mashup here of the Winchester house.
Right.
You've heard of that, right, Tim?
Yeah, I know that.
Where the Winchester family, the people who made the guns, after the dude died, his widow went crazy thinking that the ghosts of everyone who ever been killed by Winchester, which is like billions of people, were haunting her. And the only way to stop them from haunting her was to keep building extensions onto her house.
Yep.
It's something you can see out in California. Mm-hmm. It's actually it sucks.
Oh, you've been there?
I've been there, and man, you think it's going to be like a cool remote, like
well, they can't let people run
house?
Through it. That's a big lawsuit, right? So that's what you thought you were going to get
to do?
I mean,
they give you tours, but it's like, Tim, it's literally in the middle of like a shopping center now. They have built, like the grounds have been carved away, and it's just a big parking lot, and there's like Hollywood subs right there and stuff. It sucked.
Oh, wow.
But the other thing that this is mixed up with...
No Burger King?
Probably a Burger King.
Oh, well, that's okay.
I don't remember. Let's say there's a Burger King. There's a McDonald's.
Did you go on a tour of the house, though? Was that part at least cool?
Yes, I did. No, it was not that cool.
Oh, wow.
It was... They made you sit there and watch a movie that was an advertisement for a movie that was being filmed about the movie. It was... We left mad.
And they give you a discount ticket for a Winchester gun?
Oh, no, but know what they do?
Discount coupon, I mean.
Tim, there is an arcade out in front. This whole thing, which is supposed to be this affront to like gun violence, right? Like this woman was haunted by it, made this house. They had like a pellet shooting game out in front.
Of course.
Where you put money in and you shoot stuff. I'm like, I don't think you're getting the message across here.
Wow.
But the other thing that this house was set up with, Kirkwood's house, is Hearst Castle. Have you ever been there?
Where the Hearsts live?
Yeah, that's also Randolph
I've driven by.
Yeah. And because
What's her name lives there? The woman who was held hostage. Who are we talking about?
Patty Hearst lived there.
Patty Hearst lives there now.
I don't think she's alive.
No, I think she lives there.
Well, if she is, I mean, I've toured that too.
Oh.
So maybe she has. That's big. But the part that comes from Hearst Castle.
Maybe it was her ghost I saw.
Wait, did it tell you to give all your money?
Yes, to her. And the oh damn it, I can't remember the name of the group she joined.
The Symbionese Liberation Army.
Yeah, she wanted me to give my money to them. Yes,
that's interesting.
John would be proud that you knew that reference.
I know that.
He would know that.
All those ones, all those like
you know that, but you don't know the Manson girls.
Stuff. Lost it. Well, I know because I went to the house.
You went to that house too? Manson house? What?
No, there's no Manson house. Those people are hobos.
Yeah, but they lived.
I went
at
to the
ranch.
Hearst Castle. Hearst Castle, he had a zoo where he let the animals wander around, which plays into the plot later.
Yes.
Also, it looked like Hearst Castle. So, all right, back to the story. He meets up with you were saying the parapsychologist.
Yes, and also what you're saying is when Peter did visit this place, it's got a big fence and it's got the man's private zoo, and he's like, "Don't go off the path. There's tigers and bears."
You see a puma running about.
The guy at the gate's like, "Stay on the path."
Oh, remember Peter pulls up and the dog kind of just keeps him in his car, and it goes on for like a minute. Yeah. I'm like, what? Do they think this is an action scene?
Yeah,
Peter Parker hiding in his car as a German Shepherd barks at him. I think they do.
Yeah, but this is the part where I'm like, poor Peter. How stupid! Peter's supposed to be a scientist, and he goes to the institute, and he's like, "So do you think ghosts could be real? I mean, are we supposed to believe that Peter's wondering whether it's real at the beginning? Because he's like, do you think spirits could be real, Doctor? It's Dr. Davis."
Dr.
And I was
Davis,
like, what? Peter doesn't know from the start. This is all a big sham.
He kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah.
Because when he's there, first off, Peter is very alpha in this. Like, Lisa Kirkwood is clinging to him. She's an older, she's like, I don't know, 40s or 50s, very attractive older woman. Not that that's old, but older than Peter. And he's like, follow me, I'll protect you. I'm like, and like that weird bad guy's walking around with them. And there, he's very much like, this is clearly fake. But then he meets the parapsychologist after, Dr. Davis, also a very attractive older woman than him, who I think there's sparks going on.
Peter had just seen The Graduate, I think. That's what's going on.
He's Dustin Hoffmaning all over the place. He's like, goo goo ka-choo, Mrs. Robinson. And there he's, you're right. He switches and he's like, could be real, right? And I'm like, that lady, Dr. Davis, the parapsychologist, she's not nearly crazy enough to be believing in ghosts. Like, she was a scientist. She was put together. Right. Like, if she was really a parapsychologist, first off, she should be a dude. She should have, like, an unkempt beard.
Okay.
Like, nasal hair coming out. Like, definitely a pizza stain on her shirt. Like, she was... No. I know who believes in ghosts.
I think Peter wanted to believe in ghosts because he wanted to contact Uncle Ben.
Is there an Uncle Ben in this world?
There has to be. I don't remember. I didn't.
There
watch
was that cool. They show his origin super quick in the beginning. Like, he's looking all ahead, all intense.
There's an origin episode. There's an origin episode.
I will watch it and report back.
Okay. All right.
I want to point out something very important. I'm on my second page of notes. Everything we have described until now was the first part of the episode. There has been, with the exception of the opening credits, absolutely no indication whatsoever that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
True. He
never makes a mention of it. There's no hint of his powers. At 14 minutes and 22 seconds, his eyes flash. And I'm like, oh my God. Because I, at this point, had kind of forgot I was watching a Spider-Man film.
And why did they flash? Was this because of the haunting happening? I forget.
I think,
because they see the handwriting. Because he does go upstairs in the house because the sound is up there and it hurts his ears.
Yeah, and it's like a ultrasonic thing that should have killed him.
Right. And the doctor was going to kill the guy.
He says it later. They're like, I don't know how he survived. He changes into Spider-Man.
And climbs up the house.
Makes quite a show of climbing up the house. And there's a great scene where like he's clearly on like a floor and slides a little bit.
Yes.
Gets into the attic, sees the ghost, gets attacked psychically, and is reeling about holding his head. Not psychically, sonically.
Sonically.
hits the window, which is at about shoulder height, and somehow falls
out.
I'm like, you tried that. And then what's really funny is the bad guy, Dr. Polarski. That's the blonde.
I'm calling him Mysterio, but yeah.
Mysterio comes over with the widow, and they find Peter, who has completely changed back into Peter Parker. He's like, oh, I fell out the window. They're like, oh, you okay? He's like, yes. They're like, I want to interrupt also here. Nicholas Hammond has amazing hair.
Yeah, it's 70s hair.
It's so 70s.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I think that dude has a good face to be playing Peter Parker.
He does. He was good.
Yeah, I think this is the best show you've ever done on this show.
You're just saying that to make John upset.
No, I really...
Because I made him sit through summer camp, a unknowingly soft porn movie where you could see the boom mic every other scene. I
wouldn't be surprised you could see boom mic. I did really like this, and I really am honestly going to watch at least a few more episodes.
Oh my God. All right.
Yeah, it was interesting.
But that wasn't a good plan. Mysterio was going to kill this reporter, which would only draw a lot of attention.
His plans are stupid as fuck.
Oh,
we'll
and
talk
also,
about that more.
The people who edited this, they didn't create a mystery for us. The very first time we see the ghost, they show the people in the truck doing the voices. I'm like, oh, you're giving it away.
So right now. I didn't get that until we were talking right now. Because when I was setting the scene, I was saying how you see the blonde guy, the beardo guy, you see the widow.
Mysterio.
Peter walks in, Mysterio, and there's a third guy who's doing the voice. I thought he was like the medium there, and I realized after he's in the truck.
Yeah. But they show that to you, and I'm like, oh, you're giving it away.
Right off the bat, because they reveal it later. I'm like, wait, I wrote down in my notes, van? Like, this dude's in a van? What's going on? Like, no sense of creating a mystery. It was outrageous.
It was.
No.
So the guy
at some point, Peter goes back.
Because he encounters the man at the gate again, who's useless.
But now he likes him, so he lets Peter in no problem.
Stay away from the animals. They got tick. You're gonna get Lyme disease.
Oh yeah, which I'm like, that's definitely a Chekhov's gun sort of thing. He's like mentioning the animals again. But it's not Peter who's in trouble. It is the character we need to talk about. Julie Masters.
She shows up with no explanation either, except for Peter rolling his eyes.
She is. I think I wrote down the actor's name.
So I think she's supposed to be his competition.
Yeah, she's definitely Lois Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like she kind of looks like Lois Lane. Mm-hmm. She's a reporter like Lois Lane. She keeps getting saved by Spider-Man, especially in instances where it doesn't make any sense that anyone with any working brain cell would be like, "You're clearly Peter Parker."
She wears Lois Lane's shoes. Same shoes.
Never mind. It really? Okay.
Move forward.
So, because the widow, let's just call her the widow, is stated to tell the terrible guardman that Tim likes that she doesn't like newspaper men, he does not let in Julie, the Lois Lane character.
That's right.
Julie rides her weird bike around the corner.
I think this guy's picked on by the neighborhood kids all day. The guard guy, they order him pizzas.
They park their bikes in the bush and leave the horn on, and he runs out like somebody's dying. Yeah. But she climbs the wall into this place, this mansion, these grounds.
Oh, okay. Wait, doesn't she distract him with the horn? Or what am I thinking?
That's the second time she goes in.
Okay, she climbs over.
She does this twice. First time she climbs over, doesn't see the sign warning wild animals inside.
She doesn't realize she's going to get Lyme disease.
And Peter's spider sense, he's talking to Mysterio and the widow, and his eyes flash. And it's funny because it seems to make him disoriented. People react. They're like, "You okay, Peter?" She is not Peter. She has got to be at least 300 yards away, if not more. I mean, Peter's driving for a while there. The way his spider sense works here, it tells him when like his possible love interest is in danger. That's the only time it works here. It never seems to work for him.
Yeah. It was very inconsistent. Because, well, why did it go off? Because she was being chased by a bear.
Not even yet. She was just climbing over the fence and he sees it.
I thought the bear saw her.
The bear sees her, and that was great.
The bear was pooping, so it took him a while, but he saw her.
She was wearing a T-shirt that said Charmin. It's like, I know what to do with that.
Oh, wow. Did you just think
Well-
of that joke just now?
Yeah.
All right. So the bear starts chasing her with her. She's got a Charmin shirt.
I kind of liked this scene too.
Oh no.
It goes on for very long. There's a lot of shots of this. Like this show was not cheap. I will say that.
Yeah, I read it wasn't.
It was cheap in some ways because it was a 70s show, but like they did not skimp on the wild animals. Like this bear is coming after her, and there was like full on shots where the actor is
Yeah.
multiple times in frame. And did you look her up, Tim?
No.
She started before she became Spider-Man's love interest and did other stuff. She started as a stunt woman.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, if you remember, I think it's the first Superman movie, a woman is falling out of a building and he blows her up in the air again with his wind, and then she bounces onto like a scaffolding and then falls into some pumpkins or something.
What? That is not
Yeah.
in Superman, George.
It might be in Superman 3. But it's in one of the Superman films. It's definitely Christopher Reeve. It's there. It's there. She's that person. She has met both Superman
Wow.
and Spider-Man.
That
And
had to
maybe
be-
even Aquaman.
That had to be Superman 3, where who was the comedian? Bill Cosby.
Richard Pryor.
Bill Cosby was in that movie.
Oh, God, no,
it,
it's
had
definitely
to,
not.
it had to be Superman 3 when Bill Cosby skied down the building and then like
That's not Bill Cosby,
fell
you
down
fool.
fell down to the street and landed on a bus. I say it's Bill Cosby. If John
No,
was
it's not
here,
Bill Cosby.
if John was here, he'd agree. Yeah, but you remember he skied down the side of the building and then
I do remember that.
okay.
I think I love those two I love the first two Superman movies as a kid. I think even the third one, even as a little kid, I'm like, I think this movie's really stupid.
All right.
So I don't know where we are in the plot at this point.
Yeah, we got to get through here. When you're on, it's a 2-hour episode, George.
I talk a lot.
So there was no man in bear suit. I was going to say, I'm surprised.
Yeah,
She
it was
did
actually a
get-
real bear.
The whole thing where he attacks her is behind a tree, so I don't know what was happening. Like they get behind a tree, and then she's like screaming, and the bear's there. There must have been
But
trainers.
it's really there.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man comes, and it's the best fight. He just kind of pushes the bear a little bit, shoves it a few times, and then webs it.
And
And
webs-
again, by webs it throws a
ropes.
white nylon rope on it.
I'll
And
say
it's like it's knit as a web, and it looks like a Halloween decoration.
it does. Halloween decoration here in Brooklyn on a brownstone. But I was going to say, in this movie, Peter obviously hates animals because he pushes the bear, and later there's a tiger that attacks them, and
A lion.
he ties a stick to his webbing and beats it. Beats it into submission until it runs away.
This lion comes out and he webs a stick. I'm like, why is he doing that? It's such a funny bit, and makes a whip out of it and just chases him, running around. Spider-Man says so much time running through the woods in this episode.
I know. He does
It's-
not swing at all.
Man,
I
I don't know if
this
he
is-
normally does, because that might be expensive.
Yes.
But he climbs
read.
he climbs up walls he doesn't need to in this. Like, there's like a 6-foot wall that he climbs up. I'm like, Spider-Man, you could jump.
He jumped on the fence.
Yeah. So,
All right.
I mean,
so
what happens? They take a photo.
George.
Yeah.
This is the part of the show where I do my this is like that and that is like this. Will you indulge me?
Sure.
So if you've listened to the show, I know you don't listen to it, but
No, never.
John, I do this thing with John. Like in this movie, we have Spider-Man played by Mr. Hammond,
Uh-huh.
who was in Sound of Music.
Yes.
So I wrote I have four ways that Spider-Man is like the Sound of Music.
Okay.
So you can
I'm in.
You can feel free to add to this if you think I'm wrong. So number one, the number one way the Sound of Music is like Spider-Man. Peter Parker is traditionally known for having bad luck with his love life. Likewise, the nuns in the Sound of Music were also not allowed to ride bicycles.
That makes perfect sense.
Are you just saying that?
No, it does. I understand that completely.
Okay. For people at home, if you don't know, when they first introduced bicycles, they didn't want women riding them, or doctors didn't want, because they may
It
have had
excites the female
too much pleasure from that. And women can only have pleasure when men say it's okay. Okay, the second way Spider-Man is like The Sound of Music. 16 going on 17 is a popular song from The Sound of Music. And when Peter turned 17, Aunt May threatened to sing that song at his birthday party in front of all 3 of his friends. But luckily for Peter, Aunt May had to be rushed to the hospital for some sort of heart trouble.
Wow, who were his 3 friends?
3 friends, I guess Ned and
Ned?
One of his girlfriends, I'll say Gwen, and maybe who's and the Hobgoblin,
Flash.
Harry Osborn. No,
Oh, of course, Harry Osborn.
Flash was in Vietnam, killing children.
Yep.
Number 3. Sorry, what?
Collecting their ears.
Number 3. Wait,
call it out.
The third way. The third way Spider-Man is like The Sound of Music. Christopher Plummer, who played Captain Van Trapp, is now a ghost, just like Uncle Ben. Finally.
That's terrible.
And the last way that Spider-Man is like The Sound of Music. So Long, Farewell is a song from The Sound of Music. And Aunt May was going to sing this in front of all of Peter's 2 friends when he finally moved out of her house and into his own apartment. But luckily for Peter, Aunt May suffered a stroke and had to be rushed to the hospital.
I remember that issue. He's after 2 friends. Is this after Harry dies?
Yeah. It was what's her name? Whitley? Brett Whitley? Remember her?
Oh, no.
That was a girlfriend.
No, Deborah Whitman.
Deborah Whitman.
Why do I know this? So much of my brain is spent on Spider-Man silliness.
Oh, so he beats the oh. The worst part of this.
Oh.
Do they argue for like an hour about why the dog won't go in the room? Remember, the dog's afraid of the room? And then they put the dog in a cage, like, let's shove him in the room with the cage.
They don't put a dog in the cage. They put a fucking puma.
Yeah, a puma in the cage.
So, yeah, somehow, I don't understand how. The way to prove if this is a real ghost is if a dog will enter the room where the ghost materializes. The dog won't.
But they seem to talk about it for a long time. Peter's
they do. And Mysterio's like,
again, Peter,
it might not just be.
Peter hates animals because he's like, let me try to get the dog in the room. He's like, come on. Damn dog, get in here. Doesn't know how to treat dogs at all.
No, and like, again, him being alpha. Hey, you know what? This is Lisa's dog, the widow. Let her do it. He's like, let me do it. I'll drag him in using my spider strength.
That's what he does.
But
and the dog runs away. It poops on the floor all the way out.
Oh, it's like a Hershey squirt.
I don't know if you noticed that. Anyway.
I mean, they really draw attention to it. There's like a long, lingering close-up. And then, like, that somehow proves it's a ghost, but Dr. Mysterio is like, that could just be one. We need to choose this twice. And Peter's like, well, how will we do that? We only have 1 dog. He's like, there's lots of wild animals here.
Because they got a puma in a cage.
Which they brought inside the house. So they're going to let a wild puma to enter into the study. They're all there. Spider-Man, Mysterio, the Widow, the random henchman that he's just not even hiding anymore.
Right.
They open up the cage, and the puma, thank God, won't leave. Because what would happen if it did?
Right.
Then you have
I know.
a 200-pound wild cat running around your house. It's just like, this is worse than a haunting.
But that went on a long time. I think she went back to talk to Dr. Davis once more. Oh, that's right. She took pictures.
Yeah,
that's when Davis is like, these pictures are very bright. I think it is fake.
You're right. Yes. The Dr. Davis, by the way, is the parapsychologist. Yes. The very together, not at all a crazy person like they should be. So Spider-Man now seems to be convinced it is a fake haunting. But
because he found
the widow is convinced it is real. So she signs over her estate to Mysterio.
Well, Peter's not there, right? Peter goes...
No, not while he's not there. He's racing back in his car because Peter has a car.
That's right.
Just a car.
He gets back to the gate, and this guy knows him by now. He's like, yeah, let you in.
Hey, Peter?
Got all these pizzas here. The kids keep ordering. I have to pay for them.
They keep giving these flaming bags, too, but you don't want to eat what's in there. And Julie Masters, the Lois Lane character, she shows up again, and he won't let her in. So this time, as they're climbing over the wall, she parks her bike, because she rides around on like a moped.
Yes.
She parks her bike in the bushes, jams the horn down, and hides. And this
Mr.
guy is acting like this is like a child screaming. He runs out like, "Oh, what's
We're
going
talking
on?"
about the gate guy.
He runs over, he unsticks it. Yeah,
Gate
the gate
man.
guy. I should have said that. And she runs, and then she gets inside too. Again, last time she almost got eaten by a bear. This time, and Peter's eyes light up again. He's like, "My Julie Masters vision
Yeah,
is going." God, I don't know what happens.
That's when he beats
Lion gets let
the lion.
loose.
That's when he beats the lion.
Yeah, the lion gets let loose to kill the widow.
That's right.
Because the weird thing
He
about
drugs her.
Mysterio's plan,
He's like a Jeffrey Dahmer.
yeah, and he drugged her.
Yes.
But he didn't need to do any of that.
No, because he
literally
wants her to
already
die
had-
right away so he gets the money. And that's not suspicious at all. The night she signs
So
it.
suspicious. He already had the money. Like, he just had to wait.
Yes. So he sent her out to get eaten by a lion. That's what happened.
By a lion. And then Spider-Man webs a branch and whips the lion. And he had sent Julie, because he had rescued Julie again, because he's like, yo, there's fucking lions here. Who, by the way, never puts two and two together. That Spider-Man's like hanging out in Westchester,
Yes.
same as Peter Parker. Yep. And he tells her to go call the cops. He goes inside the house after rescuing the widow, and Julie is, of course, tied up because she's useless. Which is another thing. Drugged. Why did Mysterio do that?
Yeah, I don't, because she was going to call somebody on the telephone, if you remember.
Yeah, Mysterio could have gotten away with this off. He just had been patient.
He just likes tying women up, George. It's an important plot point you missed at the beginning.
He's like, I like to type the ladies.
But Spider-Man shows up and finds her tied up, and here's the big action scene.
Oh my God. He pulls off the flimsiest, floppiest spear I've ever seen off the wall. Gives it such a weak, like limp throw. And Spider-Man catches it like, and then bends it around him, and that's the end. He's captured the. Oh, Tim, we forgot the kung fu scene.
Was there?
Oh. Before the lion, Spider-Man has kung fu fights with his henchmen.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
That was actually pretty funny because like these two goons who just look like 70s fucks suddenly were doing like roundhouse kicks and shit. I'm like, oh my God, we're in a kung fu movie. But Spider-Man beats them up.
Yep.
And yeah. So he reveals himself, blows this whole plan. If he'd just been a little patient, he would have gotten all that money.
Right.
And then we cut to a scene of the Widow and Spider-Man, and I assume Julie Masters is there.
I forget now.
And the Widow's like, I've been such a fool. And Peter's like, yup. And it fucking ends.
No, he walks in the other room and like, let me demonstrate. They're called speakers. I go in the other room.
He does the Fred, yeah.
And she's like,
there's speakers up here. You couldn't tell that because you're a moron.
Speakers? What witchcraft is this?
And then she tries to burn him at a stake.
Do they don't even explain the ghost light, do they? They never did.
He said he projected it from a van, but that doesn't really. I mean, there was definitely something that was. I mean, he's a comic book character, so there was something a little high techy about that because it was supposed to kill Spider-Man. At one point.
Yeah. Nobody was in danger at any point.
We never checked back in with J. Jonah Jameson, which I was stunned.
Right.
This whole thing happened because J. Jonah Jameson.
I thought they'd end with a crummy joke.
He was a friend of mine. Keep an eye on his wife. And that's. I'm like, it just ends with his them wife. like it's like 70s freeze frame. They're like, hey, we're here in Westchester, and
his wife is
fuck everything.
The end.
I'll call it
the Bimcoas
Seddy Q&A.
Brain twist.
Answering quizzes.
Theme song. Do you like quizzes, John?
I do love quizzes.
Brainstorm.
I'll call it Seddy Q&A.
Brain twist. The Bimco. I love quizzes. The Bimco.
I'll call
theme
it
song.
No.
Quiz time. You want me to go first?
Yeah,
With one of them. So we do this quiz at the end to tie into high school. And the first question that Jet's going over: who in this movie was voted most likely to become the CEO of an elevator company?
Mysterio.
Well, did you? I say you can participate as much as you want. I don't know if you wrote anything, but I wrote.
I had some questions and I forgot them.
Well, let me tell you. I
remember one of the questions.
I'll tell you my answer, and then you can ask me questions. Is that what's going on?
All right.
You read my mind?
Okay. So Mysterio.
No, it's the man who's in charge of the gate to the Kirkwood estate. Let's call him Fred. I don't know. He was all in as far as elevators went because he loved elevators. He loved the buttons. He loved the nice wood paneling. He loved fancy elevators like that. It was all he talked about. But when he interned as an elevator operator, he would let anyone on the elevator, just like he'd let anyone into the Kirkwood Estates. Any excuse to get into the elevator, he'd let you on. He'd let and the pet ponies that you let on. They were way too heavy to be on the elevator. Busted the elevator. The accident killed 6 people. They gave him one more chance to be an elevator intern after that happened. Even
wow, still
and
after 6
and an intern as a button polisher. But he became obsessed with the fact that there was never a button 13. He was told there was no 13th floor because people are superstitious. He wouldn't let it go. And he would make a button 13 and install it while people weren't looking. And thus, he was kicked out of elevator school and ended up being this gatekeeper guy who lets anyone in. And the kids are always buying him pizzas, stripograms, whatever.
It's ironic because now... now there's no elevators at all. It's just
he's a gatekeeper.
Like one floor.
Yeah. So you had questions about this?
Which of the so if we take the 4 main characters of this, who I will identify as Peter Parker, Lois Lane / Julie Masters, the Widow, the Mysterio stand-in, and as a bonus character, J. Jonah Jameson. Okay. Map them onto the cast of Frasier. Who plays who?
What? That is not the question, George.
Yep, you heard me.
You're going off script.
It's a command.
You're going off script.
All right, which one of them farts in the elevator?
Did you not read the question?
Wait, did you really send me questions?
I sent this to you. I said if you want to participate. I sent you the questions, George.
When?
Like a few days ago.
Days ago? Hold on.
Okay, let's play your game though, because it intrigues me.
Yeah. Okay.
Frasier.
All right. So who's
Frasier would be
Frasier?
J. Jonah Jameson, maybe, and Niles would be Peter Parker.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Who's the woman in charge of the radio station? That would be.
That's Rod.
Huh? That would be Miss Chip Fields, whatever her name. Oh, Conway. Rita
Conway, aka Clark Grant.
And that's all. And the father. Oh, geez, who would be the father? He'd be Mysterio.
Jonah Jameson.
No, Mysterio would be their father.
No, he's the dog.
The dog is the dog.
Tim. Now, Tim, we know that the Spider-Man TV show had a sadly abbreviated run of only 2 seasons and 13 episodes. But assuming that the alternate dimension I dearly wish I lived in, where this was a raging hit show and I got to grow up watching this, which of these characters would get a spin-off show?
You're jumping ahead.
No, I'm a madman.
All right.
Yeah, you answer the middle question.
Do you have an answer you want to give? Or you want to hear mine first?
Maybe.
How's this going to work?
I'm going to say the gatekeeper.
Okay.
There's this whole thing like he was going to be in an elevator and he liked to polish buttons, which is definitely not a euphemism for something. And he kept pushing those buttons. And one day the elevator, she just broke and went into the ocean. And 6 men went into the ocean. Only 2 came out. The sharks, they don't like eyes. Yeah, it becomes Jaws.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The spin-off
is Jaws.
What?
That elevator man was Robert Shaw, a.k.a. Quint. This is what he did before he was the world's greatest fisherman.
That's what I would think.
No.
The spin-off of Spider-Man is the Jaws TV show. Only a high person would think of that.
Wait, seriously?
Only someone who's high. People listening are like, what?
Who would win in a fight? Jaws the shark or Spider-Man?
Spider-Man. Come on. I think that happened in the comics.
Depends where it is. What if Spider-Man, if they're in the water, maybe Jaws the shark?
Those big spider webs, they just big spider
he throws big white
spider
ropes
ropes.
at him?
Yeah. Maybe the shark would win. I think
right.
the shark would win because Spidey's spider sense would be like, Julie's in danger, and he wouldn't even notice the shark behind him because he's swimming off to help Julie.
It's like he assigns it to her. I think, Tim, you think Spider-Man uses that to shower, to spy on her when she's showering? It's like she's going to step on some soap.
No.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's taking her clothes off. Sure hope she doesn't fall and hurt herself in the shower.
I totally think he must be high. What's going on?
No,
My spin-off show.
Read the other
My
question.
spin-off show.
Yeah.
as if the show needs to go on longer. My spin-off show of Spider-Man, I say Dr. Davis, the ghost expert.
Oh, that's a good
Obviously,
idea.
she knew nothing about ghosts or ghost photography. Obviously, she's one of those people who makes everything up, she says, on the spot. She was probably pretending to be a doctor. Her show would be about her pretending to be someone different every week. Every week, she talks with such authority that people just believe whatever she is. And one week she'd be a teacher, another week she'd be a vice president. People wouldn't question it. What?
Maybe she's a lion tamer one week.
No, well, yeah. But she pretended to be Walter Mondale, vice president, who was vice president back then.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And what'd you say? Pretend to be a lion? Yeah, it's funny you say that because in the last episode of this series, she pretended to be a tree and was so dedicated to it that some loggers cut her down and turned her into some nice wood paneling for fancy elevators. Her show would be called A Few of My Favorite Things. See, that makes sense. I know Jaws TV show spin off from Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah, here's makes much more sense. Listeners, please write in to Seddy Bimco with an E at the end of Gmail and say whose spin-off idea makes more sense. Jaws the TV show or Tim's saga of the woman who pretends to be different jobs, pretends to be a tree, and is turned into elevator panel.
To be polished by Gate Man.
To be polished by the Gate Man. And it's the THCU, the Tim Hamilton Cinematic Universe.
Yes. No, this is called the Seddyverse. You're helping.
That makes more sense. Seddyverse, yeah.
So I did do the podcast one. I have to do it. We'll just edit out a lot of the stuff that you say.
Okay, that sounds good.
Who from this show would most likely have a podcast? Did you write something? You really didn't get my email? Okay.
Yes. No, I did get your email. I thought I would make up my own goofy questions because I'm an insurrectionist.
I do the questions. You come up with the answers. You got to be a yes and, not a no but.
Yeah, I know. I was being a real butt.
So,
I thought the person, honestly, who would be the one that had their own podcast would be Julie Masters.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the podcast would be that she would always be trying to guess who Spider-Man is. And she would never fucking put two and two together. That the guy who clearly has Spider-Man's voice, Peter Parker's voice, who is always where Peter Parker is, who saves her, I guess, using this episode as an
example. Shows up every time she's about to slip on soap in the shower.
Oh man, he sees her so naked. And yeah, so I think that, and it's called Who Be Spidey.
Who Be Spidey?
That was the point. Yeah.
Okay. Who Be Spidey?
Who Be Spidey? That's the theme song. Who Be Spidey?
I like that one.
Spidey, who did you choose?
If this took place today, I think the woman, the Kirkwood widow, she would have a podcast about how she was duped into believing her house was haunted through hidden speakers and pretty much just hidden speakers. She goes on a mission to help other people not fall for this incredibly believable trick. She tells people that if they hear strange sounds, they should check the house for hidden speakers and maybe a van out front where people are controlling the hidden speakers. So
big fucking van with an antenna.
So she often shows up to tell people to check the house, as I said, for hidden speakers, and they would often find raccoons and squirrels that are responsible for the sound in the attic, and they would often get attacked by these squirrels and raccoons. And she was always getting rabies and getting rabies shots and talking about it on her podcast. And she never found anyone who was stupid enough to be fooled by hidden speakers. So, she eventually got an email from a Nigerian prince who needed to put some of his funds in her bank account, and she lost all her money. And her podcast would be called, Do You Have a Bridge to Sell Me? I Will Buy It.
I would think it would be called Only Speakers in the Building.
You are so high. The spin-off from Spider-Man. It's a show.
It's called You Are So High.
They're in an elevator in the ocean.
I did the Jaws just because my voice for a second, to my mind, sounded like Quinn. But really, honestly,
which two?
Jaws is never far from my mind.
Which two then swim to shore on that whatever they floated on at the end of Jaws? Who is it? Jameson and Peter Parker?
That would be the funnest, actually. Yeah. Jameson's like, you never told me if you helped my friend's wife. And they just swang off the whole time.
I know. It's funny. We never saw Jameson again. He never cared what happened to her
No,
or her ghost problem.
no, he didn't. I wonder if all the episodes like that, he just kind of floats out the problem and just like, Peter, someone's gonna steal this museum, this diamond. Don't do it because it's my friend. And then he just fucking that guy cashed his check and went and like just did lines below at the hotel for us the time. The actor playing Jameson was a distinguished old gentleman who probably didn't do lines below.
Okay, email Seddy Bimco with an E at gmail.com. Twitter at Twitter Bimco. We're on Twitter. Seddy Bimco on Instagram. Like us. And George, you can plug your show.
Yeah, if you listen to this and you aren't totally sick of me, check out my podcast, Hypothetical Island, which I host with the outrageous Riley Brown. We basically have on different comics guests mostly, but sometimes other types of guests, and we give them weird hypothetical island scenarios. We have to choose between two disturbing things. It's silly and it's long. It goes long.
You had to be on Cheers or Frasier. Which show would you?
I probably will do that one now.
All
right, let's
got too
end this
much.
thing.
I got to edit out so much stuff. All right, the show is over.
I think producer Gene needs to come in here and just fucking cut me off.
That's the end. Bye.
All right. All right. Bye, Tim.
Seddy Bimco is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly. Produced by Miss Lee. Music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Yep, so that's going to be a hypothetical island. Tune in and listen. We'll talk all about Cheers.
I'm asking you, George. I'm asking you, and you won't answer me.
Oh, what? I said. This
is the Cheers where Sam has 3 arms.
That's even better. I do have a question about thumb placement. So the hand comes out the middle. Is it like the equivalent of a left hand or a right hand? Or is it like weird? Like
it's a right hand, so that when somebody says something stupid, he smacks himself in the face with that middle hand.
Oh, he punches himself.
No, like
that's it.
Oh, you said something stupid. That kind of slap, not punching himself.
He face palms himself, but he could punch himself if he wanted.